Hello and welcome to Off the Beaten Tracks. Today, Pat and I will be discussing the trend of these very successful and very rich artists selling off their song catalogs and likenesses and all kinds of things to major corporations for large amounts of jack. And why are they doing it? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? We'll discuss right after this. Okay, here we go with Chat with Pat. Today, we're going to be discussing the nettlesome subject of this spate of artists who have been selling their catalogs to large conglomerates for a lot of cash. And, a lot of these people, you're thinking, why the hell do they need that money? And we're going to get into a few explanations here and whether we agree with it or disagree with it. And Pat, you were initially brought this up.
Yeah, well, because I had been poking through, there was an announcement that Neil Young and then Bob Dylan had sold their catalogs, and there's been a few in the recent 6 months or so. So I started going through it and noticed people like Richie Sambora and Def Leppard. Stevie Nicks was the name that I had sent you. Neil Young, and then Alice Cooper, of all people. So there's so many of them that have started, and it's been going on for a while, but it's only recently been in the media in maybe the last 6 months to a year.
I think because of the cash amounts they're talking about now. It brings
Big
Chrissy
cash
Hynde,
amounts.
Blondie, Dolly Parton apparently is considering.
Yes,
I
yeah,
just read that, and she has a vast catalog of songs.
huge.
And the weirdest one though is David Bowie back in I think the early 2000s.
Right.
He had this idea of selling shares in his future royalties as like a stock option. And I think he made like $55 million or something for it. So apparently Elon Musk has bought all of these stock options and owns the catalog for David Bowie now for a very specific purpose, that he wants his astronauts landing on Mars by 2026. And if they do, because he now owns these rights, he's going to treat them and I guess the world, into a hologram concert of David Bowie on Mars.
Ground control to Major Tom.
Yeah, so I guess if you've got the money and literally life on Mars itself, what he would be playing up there. So it's kind of grotesque in a way, but if you've got the money now, apparently you can own these cultural treasures for, if you're willing to peel off those Benjis, it's out there. And as you said, I think Stevie Nicks was 80% of her catalog for 80 million. Bob Dylan was 300 million. And apparently one of the main reasons for this is that royalties are considered to be income. So you can pay up to 40% tax on that. But if you sell it, because it's a commodity, it kind of falls under capital gains where you're only paying 20%. So, if you've got $300 million worth of sale and you're saving 20% on that, that's a substantial piece of coin. And there is a fear or a perception that under Biden, the tax rate may go back up to what it was normally, and they may be up to 35% again. So they're getting in now with these big cash settlements to escape those taxes. And we were talking about the reasons for this. And I worked with the Zappas, I don't know, early 2000s or something. But, for most of these guys, are totally irresponsible and don't leave wills. Frank did leave a will, and he set it up so that Ahmet would take over the publishing and the recordings, and then the profits would be split among the family. But the way Ahmet has set it up and the way the bookkeeping is, it loses money, so nobody gets a nickel. So beyond that, Dweezil decides because he had been doing it before his father died, I think, that he goes out and does his concerts where he plays his father's music, and he calls it Zappa Plays Zappa. Well, Ahmet sued for money
His brother.
using the Zappa name, even though it's Dweezil's name as well. So then there's this big court case, and then Zappa gets super pissed off. The brothers aren't talking. I mean, when I knew them, they were as thick as thieves. But now, because of this whole, financial dealing and money tears families apart, that they're not speaking, and Zappa has to go out and can't even use his own name when he's playing these songs by his father. So I mean, it gets to be ridiculous. And I guess if you're Bob Dylan or you're one of these people and Bob has several families, I believe, he can just hand them cash. It's a different thing than royalties, and that kind of thing is a full-time job. I mean, you have to have companies out there scouring for people using your stuff, football games and, Ozzy Osbourne, you hear Train in Vain and a bunch of somebody has to make sure that every time it's played at one of these stadiums, it's recorded and people, and you get your royalties from that. And that, so by selling this stuff off, it's somebody else's problem. You've got the money, your family's got the money. They don't have to set up these gigantic businesses to keep tabs on this stuff.
And there's no infighting.
There's no infighting. And, I know a friend of mine was a song plugger for the Jimmy McHugh family. Now, he was a prolific songwriter, I think, in the 30s, 40s. These are his grandchildren. And it is their full-time occupation marketing his songs. He did Sunny Side of the Street, South American Way, I'm in the Mood for Love, I Couldn't Sleep a Wink Last Night. And basically, they just market these things into movies, into commercials. If the few standard singers that are left, they're trying to get them to put them in their acts because those people have to pay for those songs. And that's their entire lives. I mean, they make a nice living, but their entire lives is just selling grandpa's songs. It just makes your life simpler if you just get the money. Of course, obviously, a number of children of rich people have certainly squandered those dollars and hasn't done them a lick of good. But is it a good thing? And that's what we've been discussing.
Yeah.
Obviously, getting the money and not having to chase those nickels yourself is good. And the problem, I guess, as we child of the 60s is, having Mr. Tambourine Man sell toilet paper and
I do have an issue with that one.
And Paul McCartney, and it was with him, it was his own fault. I mean, Paul McCartney could have outbid Michael Jackson for his song catalog.
Oh yeah,
and was too cheap to do it because he didn't want to pay for his own songs. And then he's pissed off that those songs are in Nike commercials. Well, you're fabulously rich. Your wife was fabulously rich. Pay for the goddamn things. And then you don't have that worry. These people are obviously choosing the opposite. Now, these companies say, we're going to protect these songs and we're going to hand them out tastefully. But, that may be, as soon as the executive changes over, your company policy changes.
Yeah.
So, you're selling 7-day underarm deodorant pads, maybe 2 generations down in executives, and those guys last 2 years in those jobs. You can't trust them at all.
Well, all I can say is thank God I didn't find Queen in the list. They bought all of their publishing, right? They ended up going with Hollywood, which is Disney, I believe.
Yes.
Hollywood Records.
No, I
signed a deal with them and went, yep,
I'm telling
no way, and brought it all back. It's all back home with Queen. Queen's on. So it'll be interesting to see. They haven't done anything yet, and I have a feeling.
But again, as soon as those guys, and they're in their 70s now, or probably 70s, right?
Yeah.
As soon as they start to pass away, and the families start to scramble over that money, no matter what you put in that will, as Frank Zappa found out, or would have found out, it doesn't matter. That greed just gets you. So anyway, I can see why they do it. You could probably see why they do it.
I can see why they do it. But it's not. I don't agree or disagree with it. I think some of it might be a little bit disappointing because is it a case of the rich getting richer? I mean, those companies that are purchasing the rights. I mean, that's a lot of publishing. And we actually have SOCAN up here in Canada. That's supposed to be keeping track of all the bars and the clubs and everything for payment, for royalty payments. So I don't, that's their job anyway, one of their jobs, one of their roles.
Once you get it into these companies, they gave us Love Canal. They'll do us dirty in our music too. So
Yep.
all you can do is cross your fingers as these guys, head to the bank on the way to the grave.
Yep. Big sigh. Oh, well.
Oh well, so hang with us, and we're going to be back for more magnificence. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.